Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. Now, let's begin with some developments in the polity, and we'll begin with politics in Ondo State. 15 governorship aspirants are jostling for the ticket of the All Progressives Congress, with Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa in Saturday's primary election. Senior reporter Ayodeji Moradeyo in this report takes a look at the contest.
In less than 24 hours, 16 governorship aspirants will slug it out for the sole ticket of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ondo State. Most of these aspirants, who are from Ondo South Senatorial District of the state, have moved around the council areas to seek party members' support. Among the top contenders for the APC ticket are the incumbent Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, a former Commissioner for Finance Wale Akinterenwa, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, a senior advocate of Nigeria Olushola Oke, and the National Vice Chairman of APC in the Southwest, Isaac Kekemeke. Already, 7 of the aspirants have petitioned the National Secretariat over the process for the conduct of the primary election. Analysts believe that some of the aspirants may step down, but aspirant who will wear the crown remains a puzzle.
Large number to welcome me and to express their support, commitment, love, and loyalty. There's no doubt, come Saturday, this local government will definitely be taken.
We need to move Ondo State forward. We need to take it from being a civil service state to an industrialized state. The beauty of it is that we will try and turn Ondo State to another Lagos in terms of development.
Ondo State in particular, you need a leader that can make things happen. Business as usual cannot take us further. It is for this reason I have articulated my manifesto.
The aspirants are optimistic that the pendulum of victory will swing in their way.
I proudly say that the entire presidency, they will be proud of me as I will ensure good governance, fairness, and equity. Together, we can build a prosperous Ondo State.
But whoever carries the day has an uphill task of uniting all the aspirants and their supporters to make APC more formidable ahead of the governorship election in November. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
Following the invasion of the Oyo State Secretariat by suspected Yoruba Nation agitators, the Oyo State government is asking residents of the state to immediately report any suspicious act or threatening activity in their vicinity to the appropriate authorities. The State's Commissioner for Lands, Housing, Survey and Urban Development, William Akinfumilayo, stated this while speaking with journalists at the sites of demolished buildings allegedly belonging to agitators of Yoruba Nation in Ibadan. Senior reporter Laido Iwole has more in this report.
After about 1 week since the invasion of the Oyo State Secretariat by suspected Yoruba Nation secessionists, the Oyo State government is not ready to take any chances of a repetition of such heinous acts. That is why the state government has stated that it obtained a court order to demolish the buildings being used by the agitators as a refuge. These buildings are located separately at Shagari area, Toye Oyeshola Street, Boluwaji, and also at Zone 4, Irorunoluwa Community, Ododudu area, both in Oluyole local government area, Ibadan.
The demolition was carried out about 2 days ago, to be precise, and it is based on Oyo State High Court judgment to that effect. That was on the 16th April 2024, and this is a copy of the High Court order to the effect that the building should be demolished.
Does that imply that the government has taken over the property?
Definitely.
Members of the Landlords and Landladies Association in Irorunoluwa community revealed how they noticed strange movements in the area on the day of the incident.
What happened here is that day we are on our meeting. The day was Saturday, so we are gathered together there doing our meeting as landlord and landlady meeting there. So we just saw them in that uniform, army uniform. They covered their faces, everything, only their nose that we can see. So we don't know. All of us, we are surprised. We just stood up. Immediately, we want to use our phone to record them. So one of the lady there just raised the gun, raised it to us, all of us. We scatter away. So some minutes ago, we now see that there are plenty. Most they are on a bike, at least two on a bike, and they hold their gun that day. Some are inside the bus.
In a similar move, the state government also pulled down a facility being used by suspected illegal miners to process and package lithium out of the state. The facility, located at Idianyure, Oluyole local government area of the state, was demolished after also obtaining a court order for that purpose. Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.
To security, military authorities say troops have taken out more terror kingpins in the north of the country. Director of Defense and Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, also warns that dire consequences await any group that will take up arms to agitate for secession. Sifon Essien reports.
The past 2 weeks have witnessed an upscale in military operations nationwide. In the north, troops have taken out more terror kingpins following air strikes on their enclaves.
Following reports and intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance conducted, troops confirmed terrorists and their cohorts' presence hibernating along settlements called Twe, located near Tugan Magaji in Bayan Rua area of Maradun local government area of Zamfara state. This location in the northwest can be identified as similar to Sambisa forest in the south, in the northeast. The targets were subsequently acquired and they were engaged.
There are indications troops will be sustaining the offensive while ramping up other operations.
Troops of Operation Hadirindaji neutralized 62 terrorists, arrested 49 persons, and rescued 36 kidnapped hostages during the period under review.
But there are concerns. Violent secessionist agitations like the invasion of the Oyo State Government Secretariat in Agodi will be met with dire consequences.
The one that happened in Ibadan, are very fortunate that we did not get to the scene as the first responders. Wearing uniform and carrying arms, you're a dead man.
But to better tackle the security issues in the country, the military insists a whole of society approach is the way to go. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Abuja.
Let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, Daniel Bwala. He's a lawyer and policy analyst. We shall be analyzing the performance of President Tinubu's ministers. It's been more than 6 months in office, and so that's our focus tonight. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with politics tonight. President Bola Tinubu was sworn into office on the 29th of May, 2023. Now, after that, the president, as it is constitutionally required, nominated his ministers from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. And upon assumption of office as ministers, the president charged the ministers to be focused and diligent so as to deliver on his renewed hope agenda. Now, it's more than 6 months later. How has the ministers fared in keeping up with the promises of President Bola Tinubu? Tonight, we dissect the more than 6 months of President Tinubu's ministers in security, economy, infrastructure, healthcare, education, solid minerals, just almost every one of them. And for that, I am being joined by Daniel Bwala. He's a lawyer and policy analyst. He joins me virtually from Abuja. Good to have you join us.
Right. Thank you. But I joined from London.
Oh, you're joining from London. All right. Good to have you join us. Noted. We'll correct that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And good evening to your viewers.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into it. There is a saying that goes, you can judge how well things are going from very early signs. Are things going well, in your opinion?
Yes, the answer. And yes, because when the president took the oath of office, everybody in Nigeria and everyone who has interest in Nigeria would have noticed that the situation that Nigeria was in was terrible. Terrible in the sense that we had hydra-headed insecurity, in every direction. We had the problem of the economy, which was tearing people. Because if you recall, it was the build-up to the election that led to the scarcity of the naira, which affected the market. And then we have all other areas of the economy, the security, agriculture, whatever it is. The situation on Nigeria at the time was bad. And the president ordinarily would have taken the side of comfort, but he decided to do what is the inevitable. Something if you don't do now, it will hurt you later, which is to take bold decisions for economic reform. And he was very frank about it when he addressed the nation. He said he knows it's a difficult decision. He knows it will be hard on the people, but that this is a job he has asked for. He accepted or inherited both the asset and the liability and is committed to doing the work. From that first speech to today, I have not come across any speech of the president where he tries to deflect attention, but I've seen a lot of the ministers trying to deflect attention. The principal has not, because he's committed to the delivering on the promise. His social contract with Nigeria was, documented in that book called the Renewed Hope Agenda. And so why I say we are doing well is because the first few months of his government looked like we went to hell. But everybody is seeing the gradual, return of the economic strength of the country, especially with the strategic move that the president has taken through the ministers concerned to deal with the naira, for example. The decision to remove fuel subsidy, which was criticized at the beginning, has resulted in the positive in the sense that it has given us increased revenue in every ramification, from which the president was able to touch on every state of the federation by increasing the federation allocation, federation allocation to both states and the local government. And that was adjudged by economists to have said that even though the country is going through hard time, the Nigerian people are having economic problem, but the federating units are having what we call the oil boom, because they have had over 300% of the increase as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy. So, and the states that are serious have already begun implementing policies that is helping their people. So in a nutshell, we can say that the president is doing well. But when we go further to probably critically assess the various fragments, because if you look at Section 5, the president has the powers of the executive of the federation, but he carries that function, according to Section 5, by himself or through the vice president or through the ministers of the government of the federation or through the agencies. So every head of an agency, department, or ministry that carries out an act, it is deemed as if it is the president carrying out that act. This is why the function of a minister is very, very serious. Because if the minister fails, it will be deemed as though it is the president that has failed. And I believe that was what informed his decision to come up with this idea of key performance indicators, which is helping in checkmating the activities of the ministers.
You have said that this administration is doing well, coming from what seems like an upheaval to some level of stability we're seeing now. But how well or how much has the ministers, over 40 of them, contributed to what we're seeing now, that stability?
So there are people who, depending on who you're talking with, if you're talking with the fiercest critics of the government, their assessment, their positive assessment or positive review would only touch on not more than 3 or 4 ministers, because that is the immediate impact that you will see. I'm talking about fiercest critics. So they would look at, for example, the Minister of the Economy. And at the beginning, he received a lot of bashing. But because of the economic recovery which we are experiencing, he can be considered as doing well. If you look at, let's say, for example, the security, and that is without missing words. And I'm saying, if you're listening to the fiercest critics, they will tell you, if depending on who you're speaking about, whether you're speaking about heads of agencies or whether you're speaking about the ministers. But security-wise, you would have noticed, and the fiercest critics would have noticed, we have now experienced a marked progress. All of the kids that were abducted or kidnapped have all been returned. Most of whom, if not all, no ransom was paid. We're beginning to turn the tide. So depending on the specifics, but if you ask the fiercest critics, this is what they will tell you. Now, this is where the performance, the key performance indicator is necessary, because it has a three-pronged approach. The third layer is one that could involve the fiercest critics, because the engagement of Nigerians, it is citizen feedback. And it is important in KPI because the only way you can assess whether a policy is working, it is by the feedback you get from the customers. And in this case, the customers are the Nigerian people. There is also the ministries stating a case for themselves. And I cannot see any ministry that will say we are not doing well. Everybody will want to say we're doing well. The third one are the external assessors, otherwise called, you can refer to them as external auditors. People who now invigilate the exams, the invigilators. They will give their own perspective about what the ministry is saying and about the feedback coming from the Nigerian people. And that will be, it will be placed in contradistinction with the objectives that were stated right from the beginning, the bond for which everybody signed. After all is said and done, the judge in this case will be the president, because systems can be compromised, systems can be manipulated, but the arbiter, who is the president, will know. Even if a minister by the system's manipulation is proven to have done well, the president will know whether you have done well or not. And in this case, he has the powers to exercise. Whether you perform well, he can ask you to go. You may not have performed, he can decide to ask you to stay, or he can decide to strictly abide by the performance that is indicated in the objective that is set out for the minister. So these are the key. But let me, if you permit me, let me say something that is very important, because when you talk of assessment of ministers, it is the way it is perceived, especially from the ministers. They tend to think as if it is adversarial. Every minister that is hardworking should be excited about that, because it gives you the opportunity to hear from your principal and employer that you have done well, based on result that is touchable, seeable, feelable, and in every ramification. You see, because in advanced countries, KPI are assessed by system and softwares, where there is no human element that can manipulate it. And the systems, the software works in a way that it is data that works. So if you have not done anything, the data will show. But when you have a combination of systems and then the human factor is where a lot of consideration can come in, which is why I made the case that the president at the end of the day will know, even if, for example, you push away. I give you an example
and Mr. Bola, sorry to butt in. I want to get to that KPI in just a moment, because for a lot of people, it is quite expedient to begin to look at those who have performed and those who haven't. But I also wanted to ask, a very critical question, because you mentioned that renewed hope agenda of the president earlier. Are there indications, that some of these ministers understand, or how well would you say that these ministers understand the president's agenda and are executing it?
So, because like the way in law, in one judgment of the court that I think a judge, Lord Esther, who said even the devil cannot know the intention of man. You cannot tell whether somebody perfectly understands the KPI. But if you want to judge his understanding on the basis of his performance, which is the right thing to do, then you can make a fair perception, whether this person understands it or not. This is my take. A minister who understands the key performance indicators, he knows his objectives. He knows what he can point out and say, these are the deliverables. And he knows that this and only these are the yardstick for which will be measured. That minister will be able to identify what he needs to do. 2, he will go about doing it. 3, he will communicate what he's doing in a language that a woman in a limo show will understand, a man in the boardroom will understand, because the essence of the functionality of a minister is to break down the policy of the president in a way that the common man on the street will be able to understand. And in communicating what your plans are, you will realize that quite a number of ministers, and I'm not saying that to derogate anybody, have not been able to have a firm grasp of what exactly is the intention of the president. And because there is no firm grasp of that, they are not able to communicate effectively in the performance of their duty. So if you ask the general public, what is your assessment? The Nigerian people, somebody will say it is only 3, it is only 5, it is only 11 ministers that are functioning. If you say, why are you saying that? They will point at what they believe to be the objective of that ministry and whether or not the president is performing or not. So I give you an example. Say power. Now, you don't have to go to Harvard Law School, Harvard Business School, or to go to Yale or Cambridge to understand the details of power. Sometimes, like the economy, when people start blowing economic grammar, you even get confused. But you can break down economy if you're able to demonstrate how that policy can bring food on the table. So the same thing with power now. Whatever grammar you say, the Nigerian people who are the customers will understand what is the objective of the power ministry when they measure, for example, the availability of electricity that will help in driving the economy, in meeting with the needs of the family and meeting their needs. Now, even if the policy is going very well, and then I give you an example, Band A will pay a certain amount. Band A is supposed to get electricity from 18 hours to 22. Band A is charged, Band A is paying the money, but Band A gets less than 5 hours of electricity. That means there is question to answer. In our practice of law, they will not say you're guilty, but they will say you have a question to answer. Now, in the area of the economy, you can see the performance of the economic minister. Now, even if you hate him or you don't like him, the synergy between the minister of the economy and the central bank governor, the synergy, and then lately with the participation of the national security advisor in dealing with Binance, dealing with money fraud through the cyberspace, you have now seen how this trio are able to deal with the Naira problem. We have had 2-3 weeks of sustained gain of the Naira. The critics can say all they want. What we know is that there is a sustenance. So you can spread that across all facets of ministry. There are some ministers from that day they were inaugurated till today. We don't even know whether they are in Nigeria. And
that's the point, Mr. Boala, because Nigerians are also talking about why visibility might not be a proof of effectiveness, but some ministers are more visible than others. In fact, some are not even just visible at all. Do you think that there are ministers who seem totally out of their depth in the office they occupy?
Yes, I agree with you that visibility is not a proof, but I will make the case that service delivery is the proof. Because the Nigerian people are the customers. In fact, the president said it in his inaugural speech to the ministers. He said the Nigerian people are the customers. So the feedback from the customers, service that is delivered to the customer, will definitely be the proof of whether there is a performance from that ministry or not. I agree with you. There are some ministers that have mastery of the media. They make lots of noise, but there is actually nothing on ground. I also agree there are those who are highly effective, but they are not very good in communication. So you find that. But I don't think it's an excuse for any minister of the Federation to lack the voice to communicate the vision. It says, write the vision, make it plain upon tables, so that he that sees it will run with it. If you do not define what you intend to do as a minister in a way that the people will understand and run with it, and we're talking about ministers. You know that every minister has a number of agencies or departments under him. And if the minister does not provide a direction, how can the departments under him provide that direction? Let me say this. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I was just studying that recently. If you look at the economic policy of Rishi Sunak of the United Kingdom and juxtapose it with the economic policy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm talking about numbers and perception of the economy. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done more than Rishi Sunak of the UK. But you see, we have a psychic problem, or sometimes we have a neo-colonial thinking where we think that anybody from the West has done excellently well, somebody from the other part of the world has not done it well. Given the problem that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu encountered, if you carry the same problem to some of the leaders in the first war, you will find that a lot of them may not be able to do half of what he has done. But the president would have done much more better if half of the engine are functioning optimally, which is why, in my view, the president has given opportunity. He said when we give people appointment, we must support them. And I see the president everywhere supporting. I go through the news, a particular minister will say this is what they need to carry out their work, the president approves it. So everything you need to function will be provided, but you don't have any excuse.
And that's what I was asking Mr. Bwala, if you think that some of these ministers are out of their depth. Do we is it that there are cases where there are square pegs in round holes and round pegs in square holes?
Yes, there are, and there would always be, and in every country of the world. So let us not make it look like it is only in Nigeria, in Africa, or in the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A political leader and a president who comes to office works with two things. One is faith, and the other one is works. Sometimes the judgment he makes on a minister is based on faith. He probably has not known whether the person can perform or not, but he chose the person and give the person trust. It's up to you to prove your trust or you lose the trust. And then sometimes the choice will be based on works. He doesn't even have the time to look at whether he should have faith in you or not, but he has seen that you have the capacity to perform and he gave you the job. As they wore in to begin to function, those who faith were reposed on them will have to go extra mile to prove that there is a competence to back it up. Those whose the decision of the president was made purely based on works and their performance, more than often, you find them achieving because right from the beginning, the decision was made based on their performance. And in politics, a lot of factors come into play in the appointment that the president makes. The appointment can be strategic, politically, or it can be strategic economically, or it can be strategic security-wise, or it can be strategic for the purposes of balancing the government in such a way that the polity will be quiet and not to have a problem. And so when all of these things are consideration for making appointment, you find out that there are people in good faith you'll appoint, but unfortunately may not be able to have that. But I want to point out something that is important, and I think that we need to make it. You see, you can akin what the president is talking about to football. And I'm a diehard Chelsea fan. I can illustrate that. There are reasons and factors that will lead a coach to change players in the course of a game. 3 factors. Number 1, it can be based on strategy. Many years ago, a Chelsea defender was being dribbled by a striker. The coach knew that he had to remove him, not just because they need to save the match, but they also need to preserve the person's life. He was gasping for breath. These are some ministers that may have been given appointment but have no capacity. Now, 2, the appointment might also be made based on the change of tactics as you go on. So you could do 4-4-2 as a formation, which is quite, conservative. But if you don't have much time as a political leader, you have to change tactics and probably use 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. So this, which is highly, an attacking formation in football match. So all of these things can be variable. So the fact that the minister is removed does not mean he's a devil. Sometimes it is the change of the tactics that will now require that somebody will be removed. Sometimes it could be your non-performance. Sometimes it could be fatigue, father time has come of the person. You can't innovate. You don't have idea to be creative. And at other times, it might be that you came thinking that you are made a minister to amass wealth. So you didn't pay attention to the functions and the duties committed into your hands. You are busy chasing money. And then at the end of the day, it backfires. All of these things are factors. And that is the reason why I believe that the president created this scenario where he can ask you to go. Not that everybody is appointed till after 4 years, because they may end up destroying the legacy that you are trying to establish.
Mr. Bwala, we have to take a break now, just to let Nigerians get a breather. And then when we return, we'll look at some specific ministries and then outstanding initiatives you've seen in the last almost a year now of the president's administration. Stay with us, everyone.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending Catch up with the latest in sports and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News.
Thanks for staying with us on politics tonight. We're still looking at the 6 months or over 6 months of President Tinubu's ministers. What are the standout initiatives? Just assessing their policies, performance in office. I've been speaking to a lawyer and policy analyst, Daniel Bola, who is joining us virtually from London, United Kingdom. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you.
So let's look specifically at some ministries. You've talked about finance and economy. You've talked about the work they've done to bring stability or some level of stability to the naira and the economy. But let's talk about what there's works. There is FCT. There is defense. There is interior. There is solid minerals. Just some specific ones. But let's begin with works. I mean, what would you say is the performance so far?
Well, quite frankly, and I need to say that as a foundation, I'm just giving my opinion dispassionately, not because I either love someone or hate somebody, but just a fair assessment. And it is my opinion. With respect to the Ministry of Works, I have not, quite frankly, it's possible that the nature of the work is one that will boost at the end of the day. What I have seen at the beginning is a clear definition of what it is intended to be. I mean, what he intends to do. He has a clear picture of what he wants to do. Number two, he's touching on the right buttons in achieving that. Number three, he has come up with idea because I think professionally he's also in that line. He has come up with clear idea on how to go about it. But I think that the nature of his work, because it's a project-based assessment and projects don't get concluded in 2-3 months or even sometimes in 1 year, it may be difficult for you to give that big assessment at once. But if you ask me, I would say he has a clear understanding of what he wants to do. He's communicating that in a language that people can understand, and he appears to be pursuing it with vigor and zest. That is all I can say for now. I think that he's on course.
And what about health? That was one of the most celebrated ministers of the president in terms of his professionalism. And, people thought that, look, he's a technocrat, he understands it. But how well, as a party, how well do you think he has fared?
I also think that the health minister is doing well, but his ministry falls under what you were talking about, types of works that are not very much seen. No, not very much seen because they are mostly reform-based in terms of bringing about reform in the health sector. And then where it touches on project, then it must be one that can be pointed, and I've not seen anyone, a specific project that the Ministry of Health says we're going to do. What I expect, and if you look at the manifesto of the president, it flows along that line. What I expect is that after COVID, we should be able to come up with an idea where we can, in conjunction with the private sector, build world-class hospitals in Nigeria that will save us the $30 billion that goes out of this economy every year on the account of medical tourism in the area of cardiovascular, in the area of, I think, renal, and then cancer. So, and I have not seen, any, bringing together of minds to say, this is what we intend to do, because COVID happened so that it doesn't have to happen again, in the sense that whenever we're confronted with health challenge, we should have been able to put structures in place. It's also possible that the health sector is so bad that what he's doing is at a foundation, and you don't see foundation. It is only when it comes out of the ground that you say, okay, we are seeing the head of a foundation. It's also possible. But personally, as a person, I think that he's doing well in terms of reform in the health sector, but in terms of project-based achievement, maybe it's yet to be seen.
What about the FCT?
FCT, I would score him as very, very good, if not excellent. And this is the reason. And as a person, I've had my run-ins with him. So it is not because we have a relation. We don't even have a relationship. But when you judge people based on their, that's why it is called KPI, key performance indicators, not key opinion or key emotion. It is purely on performance. And if you look at that from that point of view, I think that the FCT minister came and found an FCT that was in comatose, FCT that was non-functional. Insecurity in FCT was something else. Project-wise, something else. He is also very smart, being a media-savvy person. He has been able to effectively use the media to market himself so that it becomes difficult for you to begin to say he's not performing, because every now and then he's in the eye of the media doing one thing or the other. And let me tell you why I say he's smart. Most of what we see in terms of physical achievement in what he's doing, they are not projects that are paid for. They are not projects that he paid now to be done. They are things that were paid in the past administration, which the contractors failed to deliver. That capacity to be able to get them back to work is a very strong capacity. Because if you don't have a strong will, you don't have an understanding, there is no way you can galvanize that energy to ensure that within the FCT you're able to push one or two things in place. Another thing about the FCT minister, which may be unfair to other ministers, is that he enjoys certain privileges that gives him that privilege of a governor. In fact, FCT now is the FCT minister is more privileged than any governor in Nigeria. I will tell you why. The removal of the treasury single account of the FCT has given him enormous revenue to be able to administer the FCT. Secondly, all of the requests he makes to the president grants it, because the president wants results in the seat of power. And then thirdly, he also has a way of synergizing with people that he gets the national. Now we're hearing that he's pushing for the National Assembly to legislate for him to begin to get security vote. That is smartness. But above all these three elements that I talked about, the FCT is the headquarter of all security platforms. So if you give him 10 naira, he will achieve a work of 100,000 naira. Why? Because you are giving him 10 naira for the police command, for the SSS command. Meanwhile, the headquarter of police is there, the headquarter of SSS is here, all the barracks are here. So it is a kind of privilege that he has, but he has taken advantage of the privilege to make sure that work is seen by everyone. And if you talk to anybody who hates the FCT minister and you say, is he really working in the FCT? They will tell you, to be fair, the man is working. This is my assessment.
And because you mentioned, how in all of the headquarters of security and defense are in the nation's capital, let's now talk about defense and security. That's been a major challenge in the country, from administration to administration. How well do you think that, the defense minister has fared?
So this is, I deeply apologize that with respect to defense, I will hold a dissenting opinion, because I judge based on, like we said, KPI, key performance indicators. I have not seen effectiveness and performance that is people-driven from the defense ministry. There may be intention, but as the minister of defense or ministers of defense, you are expected to coordinate the army and all the security that fall within the precincts of your ministry in such a way that there will be synergy, in such a way that there will be result, in such a way that there will be idea that will drive in the fight against insecurity. And if you ask the common man on the street what is his assessment, I am telling you, if you do a polling, you probably will find more than half of the population saying that from that angle, they do not seem to see the synergy. Were it not for the function of the National Security Advisor, a lot of these security platforms, you see, would have been exposed. Because the National Security Advisor, given the experience that he has had in dealing with some of these things over the years, was able to give a buffer to a lot of these security platforms. Because if not for the recent achievement in terms of bringing back the kidnapped victims, killing these commanders of the insurgents, getting some of them to surrender and say, we're not going to work, which has been coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, without that, the situation would have been worse. So my assessment of the defense ministry...
Can he achieve that, Mr. Boala? Can NSA achieve that without collaboration with the defense minister?
Yes, this is the point. His own function is to coordinate, right? But despite the fact that he has the coordinating powers as far as the duties delegated to him by the president is concerned, there are distinctive characteristics of each security platform that you can judge them on the basis of that. Let me tell you, the Nigerian army remains the most formidable armed forces in Africa. All you need is to have a visionary person to coordinate them. The Nigerian army has the most formidable armed forces in Africa. If you send the Nigerian army now on a foreign mission, they will come with 100 or 95% delivery. But you need to have a leader that can motivate, a leader that can inspire, because one of the qualities of leadership is inspiration. Inspiration is about ability to get into the mind of a person and motivate him in a way that he can, on his own, push for results. So I am saying, in essence, the National Security Advisor coordinate them. But in coordinating, you can tell the distinctive characteristics of each platform. You cannot say because one achievement is done. Okay, let me give you a graphic example. You know that if you look at the past 7-8 years, 7-8 months of the administration, you will discover one characteristic. It may also be that there is no visionary direction in engaging the army on the areas of their strength. We have dragged them into internal security of the state, and that's not their functionality because they are trained to kill. Now, we are seeing casualties here and there from the army with a coordinated approach by a defense minister, bringing in stakeholders. What happened to our retired generals? What happened to our retired soldiers? What happened to coordinating them to provide, a direction security-wise? But I expect that the defense minister should even be able to come up with a proposal to the president to say, Mr. President, we would like your approval for us to begin to engage our own retired forces to form some of these mini, what they call private military contractors to deal with our own local problem, rather than looking outside to begin to bring people from outside. The president believes in domestic, local content. In that his inaugural speech with the ministers, he said, I don't want you to bring anybody from outside to go. Rather, apart from diplomatic people giving a farewell speech, don't bring anybody from outside to come and teach me here. He said, I want to listen to the Nigerian people. That is what we need in terms of leadership, that you can bring local solution to local problems.
Mr. Bola, sorry to butt in there, because we have about 80 minutes left, and I want to touch as many ministers as I can. So we're just going to take two of them. There is a Minister of Interior, which you will help us look at that, as well as the Minister of the Digital Economy.
Yeah, the Minister of Digital Economy, I've been hearing so much of grammar. Now, lately, I'm hearing of AI, but while they are doing the program of the AI yesterday, I said the devil is a liar. They took light. So you have to deal with light now before you start dealing with AI. He has ideas, although in the past 7-8 months, it has always been idea. Those ideas have not been dropped on the ground. Unlike the Minister of Interior, who had for many times, even when I was critical of the president, I accepted and admitted the fact that he's a poster child because of the way he brought about revolutionary ideas in the Interior Ministry. But he needs to sit up as well, because Interior does not stop in immigration and customs. Interior also deals with some of this other internal security and see how he can collaborate with some of the other sister ministry for us to have a comprehensive dealing with insecurity. So Interior is doing very well in my view.
Okay, so let's look at, because we know that one of the things that matters to the president at this time is for foreign investors to come in. And so how well do you think that the trade and investment minister has keyed into that agenda and is running with it? Then you also look at the Minister of Solid Minerals.
So Minister of Trade and Investment, maybe I have not followed up with the work of the minister because I have not seen anything. Maybe, that's why I said maybe because I have not followed up. There might be people who have followed up the development there. What I do is every day I see the news, I follow events and I do research. And like what we call buzzer, anytime there is a function in a particular ministry, you will know because it will break into the news. Whether the enemy is highlighting the thing against the government, it gives the opportunity for you to look at fair assessment and say, look, the enemy is attacking, but in actual fact, they are producing results. But trade and investment, I have not seen anything, but that's not to suggest that she has not or he has not done anything. Or I'm saying as a person, I have not seen much there. And then you talked about Minister of Solid Minerals. Yes. You see, the Minister of Solid Minerals has a peculiar challenge, and he is galvanizing support for that. It is a ministry that is new, in my view, because of the design responsibility given to him. So it is a ministry that would take time to have a fair ground. But you see, within this short period, he was able to even introduce a force, this force that would deal with this, what do you call this, theft of our natural resources. That's a good idea. He is making an effort to bring people, stakeholders, and then to bring about, what we call rules of engagement, so that anybody who wants to do mining, wants to do anything, you register with the government. So his case is like the case of the Minister of Health. It is more of regulation. It is more of laying the foundation. But the result, it is something that will take time before you begin to see it.
Let's look at education, because that's a big one for Nigerians, out-of-school children, the quality of education as well, especially in the public sector. How well do you think that we're doing in that regard, or the minister is doing in that regard?
Right. So the education in Nigeria has been bastardized for some time. That's why the confidence in education in Nigeria has gone so low that everybody is traveling abroad. You can't imagine people even go to Cotonou, people even go to Cameroon, people go to Ghana to study because of the loss of confidence in our education sector. If you take the Nigerian results now, go outside of Nigeria to seek for a job, it becomes a problem. Not because our people are not smart, but because of the quality of education. And this is endemic. When the minister came on board, the minister is a lawyer and he's an educator because he was served as Director General of, he served both as head of a campus and then Director General of the Nigerian Law School. And in my view, he's doing well to lay the foundation. Again, I'll use the word laying the foundation because I have not, quite frankly, seen a particular project to say, this is what we have done or this is what we're going to do and we need 6 months or 7 months to be able to do that. Because the nature of the problem in the education sector is quite big. So it will be difficult for you to give that assessment within that short period of time. So at this point, if you want to know whether or not he has performed exceedingly well, because it is at a foundational level, it is then the importance of the data, the software that will look at the key performance indicators so that it begins to check areas that are not possibly seen, but they are targets that are made within a short period of time. This is the advantage of the KPI. Advantage of the KPI is to deal with issues that the ministers may ordinarily have given an excuse to say, I needed a lot of time to be able to do that. KPI will tell whether even within this short time, you're able to meet with target, you're able to improve, you're able to galvanize.
And we'll look at agriculture finally, because we can't run through all of the ministries. But let's look at agriculture because of what we have gone through in the country. Some have said we need to be able to feed ourselves, that if we have enough supply in the country, perhaps the rise in food costs because of the naira to dollar exchange wouldn't have happened. How well, again, some have talked about diversifying the economy through agriculture. How well do you think that the minister is also faring in that regard?
Yeah, actually, agriculture can revolutionize any economy, because if you remember, before we discovered oil, agriculture was our mainstay. And during that period, we did incredible things. All over the world, agriculture can, look at Israel, for example. This is a country that is seem to be in a desert. But agriculture-wise now, the whole world depends on Israel on so many things through the agri-revolution that they are able to introduce. So Nigeria is poised to doing that. Now, as for whether the minister is doing it, the only assessment I can give to the Minister of Agriculture is to look at probably his conduct and performance during this period of lack of food because of the policies that the president introduced. And the president said, I give order that from the food bank, bring out food, get it delivered to the Nigerian people, and whether or not those things are delivered. This is what I may look at in the immediate, because it's in the long term, I've not seen a clear-cut policy and direction. It may be that this also falls within, like what I said, the KPI assessment, where the results are not readily seen. So deliverables are determined by data. But if I gauge based on the little events, when the president said food should be delivered to the country and all that, he did well, but he did not communicate to the Nigerian people in such a way that the Nigerian people will understand. If not for the grace of God, masses would have gone to the street and there would have been, what we call civil unrest at the time, because it was so palpable that the president had to say release from the food bank. And he gave all the monies, the National Assembly members traveling, he gave them money to go and deliver food to their, various constituencies and districts. So this is what I will say as my understanding of agriculture. But that ministry can revolutionize our economy, for sure. In fact, people are doing agriculture with technology now, the high-tech technology. And we have the resources, we have the land, we have the manpower. We also need to have the technology to be able to do that. This is where the digital economy ministry can also help the Ministry of Agriculture in ensuring that our agriculture, the economy that deals with agriculture, is such that we can rely on it, because that's the future. Service, agriculture and service delivery. We can't rely on oil forever. Countries are beginning to live without oil. So we have to think beyond that. And for us to be able to think beyond that, these critical areas, I expect the agriculture minister to come up with that policy where they will say, whatever your professional farm, and then if you are farming and it can be ascertained, then certain subsidies will be given to you. Like many years ago in England, if you're a farmer, there is subsidy for the fuel you buy. You have a card. When you go to the fuel station, you buy at a very subsidized rate. So this way you encourage everybody to go to farm, because farming is the key and the future.
Mr. Bola, if you can answer this for me in 30 seconds, because that's what I have left. Some have said that the president should reshuffle his cabinet. Do you agree with that, and how soon should that happen?
The president is going to reshuffle the cabinet, except if he changes his mind. If you look at what he said at the beginning, at the performance something, he said definitely he's not going to keep cabinet for long. Anybody who is doing well, you are with us. If you are not doing well, you are gone. So as per shuffling the cabinet, the president will definitely do that. When is what nobody knows, because assessment can be going. He can decide in the course of assessment. He can decide to wait after assessment. But as for whether he will reshuffle the cabinet, if you know President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know that he will reshuffle the cabinet.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to have you on, Daniel Bola, policy analyst and lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. You can also get in touch with us on our social media handles. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and on X at TVC News NG. Please use the hashtag Politics Tonight and TVC News NG. We can also join the conversation on YouTube at TVC News Nigeria. I am Precious Amayu. Thanks for watching.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Get in on the action with Betano, your exciting destination for sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash outs and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 200,000 Naira. Betano.ng, the game starts now.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopEx TV.
Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen and are of little to no use? Cooking used to be fun, but now it just feels like a chore. Introducing ShopEx Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! Plus, the Cool Touch solid cast handle makes it safe and easy to cook even the hottest dishes. It's oven safe up to 500 degrees, so bake this beautiful chicken suya pizza and serve it straight from the pan. Or this tasty, delicious cake that will have your whole family asking for more. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease, so cleanup is a breeze. Plus, use your hammered copper pan to make homemade pancakes that flips and slips right out. Or make mouth-watering jollof rice or even fluffy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a culprit to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection is now available in Nigeria exclusively from ShopEx TV. You could be paying over 490,000 for a collection of pans that are not even non-stick. Call the number on your screen now and get it for just 364,950 Naira. This incredible ShopEx offer includes one 8.5 inches fry pan, one 10.25 inches fry pan, one 1.4 liters saucepan, one 2.4 liters saucepan, one 4.7 liters stock pot, one stainless steel steamer, 4 tempered glass lids. But wait! If you order now, we will upgrade you to the Premier Kitchen Collection at no extra charge and also include 1 cookie sheet, 1 round baking pan, 1 square baking pan, 1 loaf